And welcome back, and it's the Corbett 5-a-day, and it is the 29th of January today. Let's go with the first question. Okay, so similar to yesterday, we have a transformation question, where the first one is a reflection, because I'm making all my x's from a negative. In other words, I'm doing the negative for a positive and positive for a negative. So it's a reflection in the y-axis. This one here is going to be a translation. Now I add the 3 afterwards, so I'm going to translate the y values up by 3. So let's do these to this graph here. So this first one, my 12 becomes a minus 12. No, I go through 00. So in other words, I'm going to get something that looks like this. It goes through minus 12. 6, 3 becomes minus 6 minus 3. And 0, 0, or 0 times minus 1 is still 0, so that stays as 0, 0. First bit done. The second one, I'm moving the whole graph up by 3. Now what's interesting is that value there is minus 3, which means the curve is now going to bounce off. It's not actually a technically maths word, but it would do. It's going to bounce off the x-axis at 6. Now it doesn't say do this. Does it say do that? It doesn't really say do it. We're going to do it anyway. That becomes 12, 3, because it moves up by 3. And this one moves up by 3 as well. So although it doesn't look the same, that point there is 3. First question done. Next question. Looks like simultaneous equations. Find the coordinates of where the line 1 and the curve intersects. Okay, this is as bad as it looks. I'm going to take this first one here and I'm going to rearrange it to be y equals, move to the other side, 2x plus 3. And I already know from here that that equals x squared minus x minus 7, which means I have one equation. Let's rearrange it. So let's resolve this equation. So I've got x squared minus x minus another 2x is minus 3x, and minus 7 minus another 3 is minus 10, and that equals 0. Which I can factorise. Always makes me feel a bit better when I can factorise. It means I've probably done the right thing. Not definitely, but probably. So that's minus 5 and plus 2, which means that x equals minus 2 or x equals 5. Now what does it want? It wants the coordinates where it meets. So I'm going to use the first equation, so to be clear, this equation here, to work out my y values. So if x equals minus 2 times 2 is minus 4 plus 3 is minus 1. So y equals minus 1, and put 5 in. So 5 times 2 is 10 plus 3 is going to give me y is equal to 13. So my solution is going to be minus 2 minus 1 or 5, 13. And that's the question done. Next question. Okay, find the probability of A given not B. All right, so I have to start by working out what's not in B. So that's not in B, that's not in B, nor is that, nor is that. So the total of the values not in B are going to be 13 plus 16 plus 4 plus 6, which is going to be 20, 33, 39. Now, out of those not in B, which of those are in A? Well, it's going to be 16 and 4. So in other words, there are 20 things inside A that are also within B, so therefore it's going to be 20 over 39. Next question. And final question today. Oh, we've got another prove. I'm not liking these prove questions. Prove the opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add to 180. Now, as I've done several times before, I'll talk to this rather than you watch me write a lot of stuff down. The way you're going to do it, and the way you do all these proofs with the circle theorems, is I'm going to put some radii on the sheet. Now, I know, how am I going to do this? I'm going to call this x, and I'm going to call this one here y. Now I know, because the angles at the centre are twice the angles at the circumference, I know this here is 2y, and I know this here is 2x. In other words, the opposite side of the line. Now, because this here, let's highlight it, is around a point, it must be the case that 2x plus 2y equals 360, which means that x plus y equals 180. And that has proven the opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add to 180, because that's my x and y. And that's it, question done. Again, good little mix of questions. I'm not enjoying these proof questions, but the rest of them are going really well. Usual thing, like, subscribe, comments down below. I will see you for the next one. Thanks all.